ॐ नमः प्रणवार्थाय शुद्धज्ञानैकमूर्तये निर्मलाय प्रशान्ताय दक्षिणामूर्तये नमः। ॐ we have covered some ground about connected to Kali Yuga, talking about in the last session. We talked about the concept of time as a bridge to timelessness. And this is a very important connection because when we look at time deeply, it really disappears. Even experientially, it disappears. When one is having a good time, then you come and say, I don't even know how the time went by. And when one is happy, when one is in sync with oneself, and when one is asleep, regardless of whether the sleep comes inside the Vedanta class or outside the Vedanta program, doesn't matter. In sleep, there is a cessation of time. And these itself are clues for, for us not to take time too seriously. And and therefore this is a very important thing. So while we are careful about yogas and all the calibration and everything, ultimately one lets go, because the idea is to transcend the time and discover the timeless truth of the self, which is actually the antidote to Kali Yuga and Kali himself. Kali is him, yeah. Kali is seeing. There are lots of citations for this. In the Bhagavata Purana, the demon Kali is mentioned. Kali is considered a demon. In the Bhagavata Purana, he is mentioned. In the Mahabharata, he is mentioned. And in another Purana, I think in the Kalki Purana, he is mentioned. And he's mentioned in like this in many places. And of course, when we look at the description, which we will, when we look at the description presently of this Kali, this demon, he's painted in such a way that, of course, it is not realistic to think of him as as an existent being. He is more a metaphoric being, and it is given like this so that one can recognize Kali wherever he exists. That is the idea. And so, Kali is considered a demon. In fact, they are all personified. Satya is personified into some kind of a godly being, and Treta and Dwapara also. And then finally, Kali. And he is the color, grayish color. This is what the Bhagavata Purana describes him as. And we'll listen to these descriptions carefully and see um, how they may inform us in our lives to cross these tendencies. And so this is an important way to cross Kali, and how to do that by understanding the metaphorical moorings of his beings and his actions. So then we hear that he's the color of grey suit, ashes suit like this, and then he has a terrible stench because he does not bathe. So no shaucha. Shaucha is a very important quality for inner purification and outer purification. And that means one is, Shaucha means one is very careful. One is extremely careful about how importance that cleanliness is there in the life. So when we invite cleanliness, literally, and figuratively, the inner cleanliness, what happens is that we keep Kali far away. That is why he is described like this. He's described as someone who is foul-mouthed. So each time one is saying things that one ought not to, then also we are inviting Kali. Kali is actually a disembodied being, more in the form of these kinds of qualities that one has to cross over. Then what else to say? Yeah, he's a huge being, and his tongue is so huge that it barely fits in his mouth. This is all, these are all the descriptions that help us understand. And the tongue has a very important place in the body, because it is at once a karmendriya, an organ of action in the form of speech, and it is also a jnanendriya, it is a sense organ of taste. So speech and taste here for Kali are very, very well developed. He is, he is very loquacious, he can wax eloquent on any topics, he can charm, he is, very much there, he loves to talk, and he loves food indiscriminately. And so that is why his tongue is, he cannot hold his tongue. In fact, there is an expression where the person who cannot hold their tongue, he literally cannot hold his tongue because it is too big for his mouth. This is the description in the Kalki Purana. And yesterday somebody asked a question at the very end. I could not respond. I don't know if the person is here. Asking me the connections between the Avataras and Yugas. And yes, there is a connection. And the Avataras have the Avataras are usually there to help people in each Yuga. And so, when did Kali Yuga start? Kali Yuga started on the day Lord Krishna left his body. Lord Krishna left his body, and that is the day Kali Yuga started. And so there is a connection between the downfall of dharma, and then the going out of the going out of manifestation of Lord Krishna leads to the birth of Kali Yuga. And this has been very, very, minutely calculated by the astronomer slash astrologer, a very famous one called Aryabhatta in ancient India. And he said that, he basically found out the birthday of Kali Yuga and even cast a horoscope for this Kali Yuga. And this Kali Yuga began at midnight on the 18th of February in the year 3102 BC. Very, very interesting. And so, if there is any astrologers present, if you just, do that kind of a chart on that, I don't know if the almanac goes that far, but then if you draw up a chart, apparently one will see that it is a very wily and elusive chart. All the planets are in the cusp of the houses, and so that makes Kali very difficult to pin down. That makes Kali Yuga very difficult to even study what it is, forget transcending it. That is the idea. And so there is a connection between the avatars. In each yuga there are avatars. Satya Yuga does not need avatara because the people are not transgressing dharma. And then in Treta Yuga we have Rama, and then in the Dwapara Yuga we have Lord Krishna, and in Kali Yuga there will be a being called Kalki who will be very silent and who will bring the Yuga to an end. Oh, will he kill Kali? Apparently, he will kill Kali. This is the prophecy in the Kalki Purana. He will kill Kali, but Kali escapes because Kali is disembodied. Because if he really killed Kali, then the next Yuga will not have next cycle of Yugas, Kali Yuga will be missing, and then that will create disruptions in terms of time. And also, if there is no Kali Yuga, there is no Vedanta. Nobody will be interested in study. Nobody will be interested in redemption. Nobody will be interested in moksha. Oh, but do I have to be driven insane in order to attend a Vedanta class and in order to commit to moksha? Apparently that is our lot, you know. Because we have to be dragged kicking and screaming. Nobody is going to come and say, "Oh, I think I have I think I have a evening off. I will just attend Vedanta class." Nobody says that. Everything should go wrong. In every which way, you should come up short, and one should have this turmoil. I'm not okay. And for a long time, life after life after life after life after life after life after life of feeling and thinking, I'm not okay. Then that is the one that, after being tortured by this demon called Kali, then only one is dragged into a yoga ashram, a Vedanta ashram. Yeah, that is only when. Otherwise, who, even if the ashram is located at the feet of the beach, people come for just having a holiday. People come for having a good time. Nobody is interested in what it has to offer. Nobody is interested in anything else. But Kali does his job. So Kali is not completely killed. Kalki thinks he is killed. But then what happens is that he escapes his body and goes and stays, hides in 5 hideouts. What are these 5 hideouts? Yes, we'll come to that. That's very, very important. But before we, look at these 5 hideouts, we have to see how come he got these 5 hideouts. Because Kali apparently did some bad things and then went and first time in his life, and perhaps the only time in his life, said sorry to King Parikshit after the Mahabharata war. King Parikshit was the sole survivor of this terrible war. And in fact, the Mahabharata war in Kurukshetra was at the Sandhi, was at the crossing point between Dwapara and Kali Yuga. That's how there was this horrible, terrible war. And then, so he did something terrible. I forget what. If you want me to look it up, I'll tell you later on. But I don't remember exactly. But he did something terrible, and the king was very powerful, and he threatened to annihilate him. And then he said, "Okay, okay, I will, I will say I'm sorry." And he said he was sorry, and the king said, "You are banished hereforth, not only from my kingdom, but from every kingdom." How could King Parikshit, I can understand. If you banish somebody from your kingdom, yes, fine. But how could he banish it from every kingdom? Because King Parikshit was very, very dharmic, extremely dharmic. And so his words had power. And people with such powerful words are usually sages of high order, and they are called Satya Sankalpaha. Satya Sankalpa means whatever they say comes true. And so Kali was just frightened. And then he said, give me 5 places where I can hide out and which is my own place. Nobody can evict me. I don't have to pay rent. And the mortgage is already paid for. And then I just want 5 little places where I can stay. And so Parikshit cursed him to stay in the following 5 places. Where alcohol is consumed, Kali presides. This is all very fantastic, very interesting. Where alcohol is consumed, Kali presides. And then the other one, Kali also presides in the gambling den. After all, he's named after the losing die. So definitely he presides over gambling dens. So alcohol and gambling. And then what else? Another place he presides is where gold and money is loved. Where there is a greed for avarice for gold and money. This is where he resides. He presides over the, so it's not just gold. Otherwise, Kali would be, possessing every jewelry shop. That's not the idea. Where there is where there is a indiscriminate greed, for this, for this money, gold, etc. That is one more place he presides. He resides there. And then what else? Then, so how many have we covered? The gold, alcohol, and then the gambling dens. Three we have covered. The other two places is where prostitution takes place, where women are exploited. That is one more place where Kali resides. So, and then the final place is animal slaughterhouses. Slaughterhouses where animals are cruelly killed for food. So this is, these are the places where Kali the demon is supposedly residing. And then, of course, there are certain other places also we have to see Kali as residing, because those places are dear to him. These are tangible places, which with these 5 points of, these 5 homes of Kali are tangible, objectifiable places. And the rest of the homes that we are going to talk about are intangible places in the form of emotions, in the form of notions, etc. So the first place there we have already discussed is called Shaucha. So Ashaucha means the uncleanliness. So when there is no cleanliness, there is no practice of cleanliness, then Kali can possess. And how do we know this? Because again, there is a story in the Mahabharata of an ideal king, Nala, and his wife Damayanti. And the king's only fault was to marry the princess Damayanti, who was desired by Kali. And the princess rejected Kali and then married Nala. And that was Nala's only fault. and, and then because of that, Kali was too fond of Damayanti to harm her, so he decided to vanquish Nala. And he was waiting for an opportunity. He said, okay, how can I possess him? How can I possess him? And so he possessed him on two separate occasions. And what were they? The first occasion that he possessed him was when he came back from some outing, Nala, and then forgot to wash his hands and feet after coming home. Forgot to wash his hands and feet, and then lo and behold, Kali went inside his body, gave him a terrible sickness, and then from which he could not recover until he got a boon from one of the devas later on. And then the other time he possessed Nala was again when Nala was fond of gambling, and he went into the dice, and then this is how he possessed him. So like this, there are other places of where this Kali resides. And then one such other place is anger, because anger is supposed, Krodha, anger is supposed to be the demon Kali's father. And so when he was born of anger, literally and figuratively, I suppose, he was born of anger. And if one is born of anger, then imagine there is so much, there are so many problems. And if you have a father who is the personification of anger, imagine one's childhood, spent getting so upset and angry and everything. And then that is what one will learn. The father is also angry, is anger himself, and the son will also be the personification of anger. And so the anger was just very much there. And then this anger was, this anger gave birth to Kali. And so, whenever one is angry, therefore, one has to calm down quickly. One has to do whatever it takes to overcome and to manage the anger, because otherwise, Kali will wreak havoc. And then the wife of Kali, Kali has many wives. One of the wives of Kali is called Himsa. Himsa means violence, injury. And we know Ahimsa paramo dharma. Ahimsa is the greatest manifestation of dharma. And so, since Kali is married to Himsa, and and unfortunately, in the Bhagavata Purana, Himsa is described as his sister. Now, why would he marry his sister? Because that is the kind of morality, no ethics. So, his sister turned wife is Himsa, and Himsa means violence. So, wherever there is violence, Kali presides. See, these are all ways in which we can train ourselves to cross Kali Yuga and to not give home inside our hearts. We do not have control on how the wrath of Kali might unleash upon the planet. We may not have full control, but we have definitely, we can have a say over the ways of our own minds. We can make conscious decisions about what kinds of attitudes and what kinds of values to invite in our lives. And we have to invite the opposite of whatever that Kali symbolizes. If Kali symbolizes anger, then we invite calmness and shanti and tranquility. He will not be fond of Shanti at all. Even though she is very beautiful, he will not want to marry her because he is, she is his downfall. Inner tranquility is his downfall. So that's why the demon is personified like this, because when something is personified, it is easy to relate to. It's easy to observe from a place of dispassion and to make a resolve to not invite Kali, the demonic being, in the form of all these things. So even we have no say over being born in Kali Yuga and have to live through Kali Yuga. That is not, we don't have a say there. So some kind of a karmic thing is at play here. It's not, we didn't have a choice. But we certainly do have a choice in how we are going to manage ourselves to not invite the inner Kali. And then the second, another place where Kali resides, an intangible place, not very quick, not very easily objectifiable place, is in speech, naturally, because we saw how he has an overdeveloped tongue. So, is in speech. His another wife, another the wife that he has, her name is Durukhti. Durukhti literally means bad speech. So he's married to bad speech, meaning he's wedded to a life of just foul-mouthed way of presenting himself in the world. And so this is exactly why in the Yoga Sutras and in other in the Upanishads also, Vak tapas is prescribed. Maunam is prescribed. Better to stay silent than to have a wife called Durukti. Better to keep quiet. So Maunam. But Maunam, even though it is very, very useful as a sadhana, Mauna Dharanam is very, very useful as a sadhana. Still, sometimes one can override the desire to speak, but the bad and distorted speech is still a latent possibility as soon as one comes out of Mauna. So, in addition to Mauna, another sadhana to practice very, very judiciously is the Vak Tapas. Vak Tapas means I speak as much as I need, and I speak only when it is warranted, and I know what to say. I train myself in being very, very subtle and knowing what to say. I'm subtly connected with the situation, very mindful, and I know what to say, and then I know what not to say, which is even more important sometimes than what to say. I know what not to say, and then I also know when to stop saying what I'm saying, when to stop talking. That is our problem. Once we start, we don't know when to stop, and then we don't know when is too much. And there is a Western, what is that called? The Western gesture, which goes like this. I'm zipping up the, I'm locking the mouth, zipping up the mouth and throwing away the key. And so that one does. And this gesture one does when one has said something one should not have said. So it is useful. It is also a sadhana, because first you do the gesture. After it is too late, the words have already flown out of the mouth like birds. They are gone. But then you do the gesture, and then repeatedly doing the gesture perhaps will bring one in sync so much that the next time, as the words are coming out of the mouth, one is able to watch them and stop them. And then, with even more practice, one is able to outwit Mr. Kali by watching what comes out of the mouth even before it comes out of the mouth. So, Durukhti means bad speech. And that is why, in the Puranas also, there is a saying that whenever Satyam Bruyat, Satyam Vada, speak the truth, because I forgot to mention Kali's mother's name. We saw the father is anger. And who is the mother of Kali? Mrisha, falsehood. Falsehood is the mother of Kali. So therefore, when we incorporate, so he is the offspring, he's an offshoot of anger and falsehood. And so when we incorporate truth into our lives, not just speaking, not just satya bhashanam, but also the thinking the truth, living in truth, lessening and then totally eliminating the divide that exists within, because there is an inner divide between the knower and the doer, and between the dharmic one and the adharmic one. There is a divide inside the heart. And so therefore all this is eliminated through self inquiry, through living in accordance to established values, attitudes, etc., because this is how to outwit Kali. So so Durukti, Satyam Vada, speak the truth. And then what else? Priyam Vada, but say it in a manner that is pleasing. This is how to outwit Durukti. Because Durukti can come and say, okay, I'm telling the truth. And what is the truth? You look terrible today. I mean, this may be the truth according to you. But if you say it to a loved one, then it's going to cause himsa, another wife of Kali, another spouse of Kali. So therefore, you have to say it nicely. Perhaps, go underneath that statement, you look frightfully terrible today. Instead of saying that, are you feeling well? Are you okay? That's a much better way to say this. Satyam vada, priyam vada. And then, if supposing something cannot be said because it is so terrible, don't say it at all, because the pressure to talk is so rampant. Somehow you have to say it, you have to get it out of yourself. And this is Kali, Kali talking. And it is said that even King Parikshit, who was such a wonderful person, so dharmic, he also was under the influence of Kali briefly. How? Because he was, as soon as King Parikshit allowed Kali to have these 5 abodes, the gambling den and where there was gold, etc. Parikshit was wearing a gold crown, and Kali went inside his head through the gold crown and then gave him wrong thoughts. And King Parikshit, that was the debacle of King Parikshit. King Parikshit, with these wrong thoughts, went to greet a sage who was in meditation, and he was not patient enough to wait for the sage to come out of the samadhi, and he kept, screaming at the sage. The sage paid no heed. And then finally, in anger, he threw a dead snake on the sage, on the neck of the, it landed on the neck of the sage. broke the samadhi. And the sage, upon opening the eyes, cursed him that he would die by snake bite, in 7 days. That is when Parikshit studied the Bhagavata Purana and gained moksha before from Shukadeva, the son of Vyasa, and then gained moksha. That is how he outwitted Kali finally. But all these wrong thoughts, and because the wrong thoughts matter, because the wrong thoughts are at the back of wrong speech. Because the speech, if you control, then nothing happens. Speech, if you manage and control, nothing happens. What happens if you control speech? Nothing. You just stay silent, and then the next day again, the same thing will come. The same thing will come the next day and the day after that. And so, therefore, the managing the speech is much more than stopping talking altogether. Stopping talking altogether will help calm the mind. But this is an opportunity to go within and do some self inquiry and understand what this is all about. Why is it that I have this pressure to talk? Why is it that I have the pressure to say everything that is on my mind all the time? Why am I inviting the wife of Kali into my heart to sit on my tongue all the time? Because whenever, this is another trivia, Kali trivia, whenever Durukhti sits on the tongue, it is believed that she displaces another goddess who also would love to sit on your tongue, which is goddess Saraswati, the goddess of Vidya. So Saraswati wants to sit on your tongue. And in fact, when the child is born, when we do the naming ceremony, we have a wish for the child. May Saraswati sit on your tongue. There is a prayer like that also. There is a prayer also. May, oh Goddess Saraswati, may you abide on my tongue always. It's such a beautiful prayer. May you abide on my tongue always. But then, if you're inviting Durukti, the Saraswati cannot stand Durukti. And she's a goddess, she's not a demon. And so she will not fight with Durukti. She will just move out. She will just pack her bags and move out to another tongue, because the tongue is not in a vacuum. Speech comes from the antahkarana. Antahkarana, inner instrument, which includes the mind, buddhi, etc. That has to be cleansed, because the pressure to speak comes from difficult emotions that are unprocessed, and these difficult emotions this painful speech, give importunate speech, give the kind of speech, blesses one, if we can say that, with a kind of speech that one wishes one never had. This is why this is why it has to be resolved. The emotions behind the speech has to be resolved. And when we look closely at the emotions, they also have a mother and the father. What are they? Raga and dvesha. Strong desires and strong prejudices. Preferences and prejudices which are intractable, those are the ones that have to be addressed. Those preferences and prejudices must be calmed down. Otherwise, one keeps saying things that one doesn't mean. And one just goes, comes under the spell of the emotions. And when one comes under the spell of the emotions, speech is vitiated. Adi Shankara, commenting on the Bhagavad Gita, somewhere in chapter 2, says that such a person who cannot manage their speech and their emotions, even can disregard and disrespect the Guru. They will fire off the Guru. They will say things like, I have been studying with you for so long. Where is my moksha? I need moksha right now. I need patience right now. Where is the tiksha? I need patience now. Give it to me now. You haven't given it to me. I fire you off. You are no longer my guru. Actually, the guru is heaving a sigh of relief, unbeknownst to the student, because the guru had to deal with such a person for so long. So Guru says, oh, some good yoga in my horoscope must have come. Some good prarabdha is about to come. Om Shanti, Ayushman Bhava, live a long life, be happy. That is all the Guru will just bless the person on their way. And so, therefore, this is, so the Adi Shankara says, even the most respected person on the earth, the person has no control over their emotions, no way to manage their speech. Guru napi drohayati, curses the Guru, fires off the Guru. And so that is why the management of the speech is very, very important. Then Kathopanishad also gives a very wonderful way to manage speech. And in the Kathopanishad, we find a lovely clue which really works. It says there that don't talk anything else other than Vedanta. If you want to talk about dharma, talk about karma yoga, talk about Upanishads, talk about Viveka, Vairagya, talk about Yama, Niyama, talk about Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Dharana, Samadhi. Those are the topics you make yourself, talk about these things. Talk about only these things. Talk about only two kinds of things. Either talk about the vision of the Upanishads and talk about how to get there. All the sadhanas and practices, talk about that. Only those two things you talk about. And let the tongue be dead to any other discussion. And to put it in the how Kathopanishad says, Anya vacha pramunchatha. Anya vacha pramunchatha means give up all other kinds of speech. Anya means other. Other than what? Other than these two that we have just discussed. Give up all other kinds of speech. Esha amritasya setuhu. This is the bridge to immortality. This is the bridge to moksha. This is the bridge to understanding the truth of yourself. Give up all other discussions. Give up all other chit chat. And you may say, oh, this is very, very difficult. Why is it difficult? First of all, I have to be in the knowledge all the time. And then that is the reason it is difficult. And then what is the second reason it is difficult? Well, if I keep talking Vedanta, Yoga Sutra, if I keep talking of preparations for knowledge and all these things, and if I keep talking about the lives of saints, etc., then I will not have any friends left. Because all the friends want to talk about potluck, about, mm, about clothes, about what is happening in one's life, or better still, about other people that one knows. Oh, what did this one do? Oh, yeah, that one is always like that. This is the kind of talk that is, has got garam masala in it, and this is the one that people like, and this is where people want to, engage. This is where this is where the people's mind goes. Effortlessly it goes. That is the tendency. But here the idea is reign in the mind, reign in the mind, reign in the heart. And that's why dhyana, the meditation, is very, very important, because if you keep saying Om Namah Shivaya at least during the meditation, then you have more of a open-eyed meditation, which is life itself. You keep seeing everything as Ishvara. You keep looking at everything as a manifestation of Bhagavan, including your body, mind, sense complex, including everything. You keep looking at it as Bhagavan, and then the pressure to talk, pressure to talk recedes, definitely recedes. And then the other way, the as I said, the deeper way to deal with it is not at the level of speech, but at the level of the emotions. Raga and dvesha, which are in the heart, they create pressure. They create pressure to be fulfilled. They create pressure to speak, and they have to be managed. They have to be understood, and they have to be made peace with, and then they have to be looked at properly. And this way, one does not make a home for Durukti in one's heart. One does not make a home for Himsa in one's heart. These are the people that Kali loves. And if the loved ones are not there, then Kali also will not come. Kali has one more sister, and some kind of a twin sister. And who is she? We will see next time. How to not invite her into our lives, we will see next time. ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते ॐ शान्तिः 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 हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ